All right. You guys good? Here we go. They didn't answer me, so welcome back.
I'm ready. That's how we talked about SpongeBob.
I knew that it was pointless for me to even try to get you guys started on this podcast. It was pointless. Welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. I am your host, David Holder. I'm joined today by Warren and Easton Holder, who already have and will continue to say things that I have to apologize for.
Why don't we get to be the host? And he's the co-host.
Because this is our whole life has been. He likes to shed this shadow on us.
Okay, so rudeness is number one of the things, and interrupting, number two. It's just constant. But it's okay.
What?
I don't care.
What are you talking about?
So it's not really that bothersome.
What are you talking about?
So
interrupting.
We should do an entire podcast where we don't say a word. Oh, hold on. That's already our podcast. Come on, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Are you going to intro it or what?
No, I'm done. I quit. Awkward silence on the radio.
Forward.
Huh?
No, have to fast forward.
Okay. So anyhow, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast, everyone. Today we are going to talk about exactly what I think all you guys are probably tuning in for. We know most of you are deer hunters. However, we bide our time with turkey season, and that's when we're talking is turkeys. But before we get into turkeys, one thing I definitely want to make sure that we mention is that you go to the website. We've got some new products on there. Sweatshirts are selling like crazy. Spring Thunder is next week, or
March
3 days.
27th.
When this airs, we're going to be 4 days away.
March 27th.
March 27th, 6 o'clock. You got to have a ticket to get in, and we've sold a bunch. So make sure you're there. About $10,000 worth of giveaway stuff. We also have a new blind pack. The Raised Hunting blind carrying pack is now on the website, and I don't know how, but you guys have found it like immediately and are selling a bunch, and there's freaking flies in here, and those of you that listen, you know how much I hate flies. But anyhow, before we get started with the turkey podcast, put the fly swatter down and focus.
Continue.
Easton has a story that he needs to read, and then Warren has a very special, I don't know what,
sponsor.
He's a sponsor, but you're going to want to listen to. You want to tune into this one because this one's worth listening to.
Well, let's pray to the Lord that they make it to the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, they are. They like what they heard.
We're over that. Okay. Today's story is from AJ Richards. AJ said, not a giant, but 4 years of history, and decided it was time to take him. I get in the stand way too early every morning and had to get into a stand I didn't want to because I had to drop my bow rope at the base of the tree, and I had left it the last time I was there. So after setting till half hour after daylight, I climbed down and waited, holy cow, 1,000 yards up the river to climb into a different stand. Moments after getting set up, he came in tending a doe with 2 satellite bucks not far in tow. 30 yards, perfect double long, watched him go down. Nice, AJ, nice.
Sweet.
We got some gnarly pictures here, too.
Does it say what state he's in?
I thought you meant like he waited, like time waited.
Holy cow, that
And
is a
then
freaking stud.
You explained that he waited, so he walked up the river 1,000 yards?
Yeah, he walked up the river. I'm not completely understanding why his bow tow rope had anything to do with him moving, but he had an inclination.
Saying that he didn't have a way to get his bow up the tree.
Maybe.
So he went back to the tree where it was, is what I'm guessing.
Let's see the deer.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading to make sure you guys are right. He's from Michigan.
I think that's like a giant
Hover
Michigan,
over
right?
the other one, yeah.
Nice. Congrats, AJ.
Yeah, we'll put that on there.
Yes, sir. Congrats, my friend.
Okay. Is it to me?
Yep.
So first off,
that's
before
really
we get
good.
to our sponsor portion here, you guys have really enjoyed that, and you started chiming in and chipping in on that, which we really appreciate. I think it makes it a little bit more fun. But one other housekeeping thing, if you get any value out of the podcast, if you think it's funny, if you learned anything, it's helped you at all, please do us a favor, share it with a friend, leave a review. It really helps us out and allows us to keep growing and hopefully helping more hunters. So, okay, let's get into this week's sponsor. So today's podcast is brought to you by Jeff Gagnow. Now, today's sponsor spot is a little bit different. Jeff didn't leave a comment. He didn't send us a message. Unfortunately, on March 13th, Jeff lost his 13-month battle with melanoma cancer. From what we understand, it was also unexpected for him to pass, right? Because you'd not talked to him not too long ago.
Yeah, and he knew it was back, but he didn't make it seem like. I mean, we talked to him extensively about it. He didn't seem like it was a concerning deal.
Yeah, that is something that was going to happen like very quickly.
Yeah,
it obviously did.
Yeah, because I remember talking to him not as recently as you did, probably only 2 or 3 months ago, and it wasn't like
right.
It sounded like it wasn't a big deal. So it was kind of abrupt and a bit of a surprise, and at least to us. So if we had a platinum level sponsor, Jeff would have absolutely been it. He's been a devout part of the Rays family for years. In fact, if you read his obituary, you'll see the line, throughout the years, Jeff was a member of Selfless Service Outdoors, Wolf River Bass Fishing Club, Weekday Warriors Bass Fishing, and Raced Hunting. In my opinion, that's about as devout as it gets. The fact that a guy would support what we do enough to have Raced Hunting mentioned in his obituary is humbling to us, and we're genuinely grateful, not only for Jeff, but for every single one of you. To me, the thought that somebody would part this world and mention us talking about hunting on a podcast or the show is pretty mind-blowing. So now, with that all being said, you might be thinking that Jeff is off the hook when it comes to our podcast read, our sponsor read. Well, that's just not the case. Jeff's a part of the Raised Hunting family, and as you guys know, that's just not how this works. So I'm pretty confident they have Spotify or YouTube in heaven, so Jeff can tune in from up there. Jeff, we appreciate you helping us expand our reach from continental to interstellar. Now, here's the thing. You've probably heard the stories about Jeff. At this point, they're not stories anymore. They're certified legend, the kind that gets passed down. Jeff was known for his kindness, his positivity. He's the type of guy who would help out anyone at any time. He's the type of guy that could flip a boat and then comes out of the water and says, honestly, the water's pretty nice today. Jeff's from Wisconsin, which already tells you a lot. During one snowstorm, neighbors were stuck, couldn't get out. And out of nowhere, here comes Jeff. He didn't carry some groceries. He didn't make multiple trips. He carried all of them for everyone in one trip. Of course he did. Jeff wasn't a fisherman either. He was wasn't just a fisherman either. He was also an accomplished writer, the kind of guy who would document the outdoors so well, he literally helped write the documents for the only state in the country that treats hunting as a national holiday. Hero behavior. Wisconsin is the only one that does that.
Yeah, these kids get out of school.
Literally, it's a holiday in the state. So thank you, Jeff. I'm sure all of those kids sincerely appreciate you helping them get that into legislation. And then there's the fishing. Jeff didn't just go fishing. He conducted population surveys. The muskie, the fish of 10,000 casts, for Jeff, it was 10 casts. Maybe less if he was in a hurry. Jeff never missed fish. He just granted them temporary freedom. And if Jeff marked fish on a graph, that wasn't finding them. That was attendance being taken. Jeff was also a boat official for Major League Fishing, and it's probably not a coincidence that the only time guys got caught doing shady stuff with lead weights and fish was when Jeff wasn't in the boat. Just saying. Anyways, a few months ago, Jeff left this comment on one of the podcasts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've been hoping for that episode for a while. Watching you guys grow into the men you are, then having the chance to meet you and get to know you has been a pleasure. It goes well with the episode suggestion I texted Easton last week. With my current health battle and the unknowns in life, I'm glad you two are continuing on. Thank you again from a friend and a fan. Love you guys. Well, Jeff, thank you, thank you, thank you. Seriously, the pleasure was ours. From your friends and your fans, we love you too, brother. Rest easy. And to Jeff's wife, the Gagnow family, and everyone close to him, our thoughts and prayers are with you. With Jeff's positive outlook and appreciation for every opportunity, I think he'd be all right with us offering these words during this tough time. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. So this episode is proudly sponsored by our friend Jeff Gagnow, a man who didn't just love the outdoors, but he left it better than he found it.
That's really freaking good.
And I would say he's smiling right now.
I
sure
hope
hope
so.
He's just laughing and going, one more. You guys did it to me one more time.
We couldn't let him off the hook.
so.
So
No.
But I hope all of you guys do know, as much as we make the jokes and stuff, that we try to do things like this to show our gratitude, because to us, there's nothing that we enjoy more than being able to get to do this stuff. And I think sometimes I get a little bit of a different perspective now than Easton and Dad, because I also have another business that I'm not necessarily in this office all of the time. And whether they believe it or not, that one, it's a good business, but it ain't anywhere near as fun as this one, which they may not know that part. So like the days I'm down here, I really look forward to it because it's fun, and it's a pretty awesome thing that we get to do this not only together, but also to have such a huge, great group of people and reach to have all these people who support us and just want to be a part of what we're doing and allow us to continue to do this. So I know that
100%.
We can be a bit set in our ways on some things, but that doesn't mean that we don't appreciate everyone who has that, and we think that you have the right to your opinions too. So
I would say in general, hunters as a whole, I've said this forever, I've just met the greatest people through hunting, whether they've been landowners, whether they've been other hunters, whether they've been sponsors or other manufacturers or other people that were doing stuff in the outdoors. It doesn't matter. It just seems like we all have a connection as soon as you meet someone that's connected in any way, whether you're just getting into it or whether you've been into it for your entire life. It just, there's just something about those types of people, and hence the reason we are doing this is to continue that.
Yeah.
And to harbor that, because if we ever lose that, we're going to lose this whole battle.
I was at a trade show not too long ago, and it was actually the PGA show, which is golf, for those of you who don't know. Most probably do.
Pretty sure everybody knows what the PGA is.
We got some pretty country folk that listen to this. So anyways, I was at that trade show, and a guy introduced me to a professional long driver where all they do, is hit a ball as far as they can. And this dude's like, oh, hey, Warren also hunts or whatever. And he's showing me pictures of his bull and starts talking for like, I don't know, we talked hunting for 30 or 45 minutes. And so then afterwards, after he goes along his way, these people come over to me like, what did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, we can't get that guy to talk. He's been a total bump on the pickle and won't do anything. And he just talked to you forever. I said, oh, we just talked about hunting. And he was like, he could care less about his long drive career. Right. He's like, yeah, it makes money, but I dude, let's go elk hunting. I was like, yeah, you're my kind of guy. Yeah. So
I think that happens to all of us a lot. Like I know Mom has gotten irritated now in her later years. She doesn't anymore. But you go to a party or something like that, and when people would find out what we did, what we, that we were hunting like to the caliber of what we were doing, or that it was like, what? And they just question after question after question. She's like, everywhere we go, that's all they want to do is talk to you about hunting. And now she's like, well, I love having you around because it breaks the ice and everyone's talking because you're there to tell, because then when you hear some of the stories that hunting has provided for us, and I mean, it's not just me anymore, it's you guys too. And it just, someone like Jeff, meeting him, because I was supposed to go hunting with him and it hadn't worked out yet. And I was looking forward to it. I mean, and it was we actually lost Karen's mom this year at the time when I was supposed to put in for this tag. And, it's just timing. But my point is that there's just a connection, and and this is proof positive that connection is working and it's thriving. So thank you guys, all of you. We appreciate you. Now we're going to get back to talking turkeys.
Yep. So sorry for the heavy intro on that one, but we felt as though that Jeff deserved that.
All right. So I'm not sure exactly where we're going to start on this turkey thing, but I think we should start. I made a whole list here that I've got, and we can go from there. We were trying to come up with a title. I just came up with a title. Turkeys. Just
intro to turkey season.
Because it's that time of year, and we're all damn turkey. This morning, he started way early. We need Jeff right there. We need Jeff to throw a flag. We need him to referee, because you cannot start breeding hens on March 20th. That's against the rules.
What indicates when they breed?
I guess just about all of them are relatively the same to the sun and daylight, isn't it? Well, I mean, I know that's what deer is.
That's what I'm asking is what says when a turkey can breed or not.
The first time the hen winks.
Oh, God.
Come on, big boy. I don't know. Or the first time he catches her. But this one, he caught her right by the road.
Because maybe the rut for turkeys can move. What do we even call that? The breeding
season. Yeah.
I think we need to come up with our own name for it. There should be something more fun than the
kind of like
season.
booby bouncing.
Yeah, booby bouncing.
It makes me uncomfortable.
That makes you think of Alien and Predator. Are you looking that up?
I am.
Okay.
So what's the first thing that you're doing now then to try to get ready for turkeys or for opening day? Is it scouting? Is it driving around? Is it going and sitting and listening? Is it putting out cameras? What is it? And
all the above.
And how much do you really need to do? Do you really need to pre-scout for turkeys?
Do you want me to answer this real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on whether you're bow hunting for them or gun hunting for them. That has a little bit of something to do with it. What?
I was answering the mating thing.
Yes.
Okay, so it says turkey breeding season, often called, they say it's often called the spring strut or mating season. That's actually kind of slick. It is mainly controlled by a combination of day length and biology, with a few environmental factors influencing timing. The big one is the photo period, which is the day length. That's the number one driver. As days get longer in the late winter, early spring, turkey bodies respond hormonally. Increasing daylight triggers testosterone spikes in toms, gobbling, and strutting. Estrogen increases in hens' readiness to breed and nest. This is why breeding season happens roughly around the same time every year. Hormones, which is an internal clock, the photo period kicks off hormonal changes for toms and hens. We just said that. And weather modifier, but not a controller, would be weather doesn't determine this season, but it affects daily behavior. Warm, calm mornings, more gobbling and activity. Cold snaps, birds may still be breeding, just quieter or less visible. Heavy rain and wind suppress movement and vocalization. Weather affects how much you see, not whether breeding is happening. There's a few other things, but there's your.
So
because they're not going to be as contingent like on whitetail deer. Can't have those fawns too early.
Right.
If they do, they're going to die. Turkeys are laying their eggs June and July, or June maybe mainly. But if they have a clutch that gets screwed up, they'll do it again. They'll have a whole nother one, and they'll do that up to 3 times. So they could end up having them way later, and they still should be fine.
So they can breed up to 3 times?
Well, I don't know. Again, I'm not positive on whether they got to have the tom do it all over again to
surely to fertilize the eggs.
I don't know if they have to do it for the whole clutch, or if he does it one time, then it kind of covers the whole thing. And I don't know. Like, I don't. From what I understand, a tom does not have to breed a hen every single time for every egg. It's like breeds, and then those eggs are fertilized, and then.
Well, because how long do they incubate for?
Like 20 some days, I think it is.
So she could get bred March 19th or March 20th, and then by April 10th, be ready to be bred again or having more eggs if she's, if the first hatch.
No, I don't know. I don't know how long till she would actually start laying the eggs from today.
Because you're saying, though, that there could be 3 cycles.
Yes.
Of that.
I am saying that. I do know that.
So that could almost go into, like, early June.
Oh, yeah. No, I would say most of them are not having them until June.
So
we need to look and see how.
A tom can, one-time breeding, can fertilize the entire clutch.
That's what I'm saying. But I don't know if he has to do it again if that clutch gets messed up.
Because they're laying that entire clutch, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but one at a time.
One at a time, one a day.
That's right, yeah.
They don't just pop them all out.
Boop, 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 boop.
I wonder if
They
it would
look like
be,
a machine gun.
Yeah, that's probably the only reason we have any turkeys at all.
So
'Cause if they put them in like 5 little clutches of 5 or something, when these coons and stuff find them, they'd probably get all of them.
Well, I think they're already doing that. I think all
So
13.
they're saying it would be even easier for them.
Yeah.
Their sperm can stay viable in the hen for 2 to 4 weeks. If they have 10 to 12 eggs on average, an egg a day, they fertilize an egg a day, obviously. If it were not, to whatever reason, not work, or I don't know what would signify them not, or to having to do it again. I don't know what.
Oh no, coons get like.
So they'll just keep going.
Oh yeah, they'll do it again. Not just keep going, but I do know that that it can be up to 3 times that they'll do it again.
That's
do
the
it
case.
again.
They've got 2 weeks would be
incubating, basically inside the hen.
No, I'm saying 2 weeks. The sperm from one tom breeding a hen stays in the hen for 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
So the first 10 to 12 days, if she lays 12 eggs, let's say, she still has another 2 weeks and a couple days of sperm potentially left for another clutch if it were to be like back to back.
Yeah, so she doesn't have to get bred every time.
Right.
No.
Okay. And then the other thing that's kind of it's just like a cool fact, I guess, is even though that each egg is individual, like one a day, because I don't know if it's every day either. It could be like 36 hours or whatever. But anyhow, long story short is they all hatch at the same time.
Yeah, that's wild too.
You know, that and there's a word for that. I don't know. I can't remember what the word is, but describes that.
That's weird. But from what he read, so you saw a turkey or a bird getting bred this morning.
Yep.
Have you ever seen one here that early?
Not this early.
But from what he's saying, that would mean that's happening regardless of the weather. It's just whether or not we see it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I didn't realize they always started quite this early. But at the same time, it seems like Nebraska usually, when we used to go over there, because when's their bow season
March
start?
25th.
Yeah, they're always pretty well going. It's just a matter of whether they're broke up or not.
No, they're just in a big flock. And I don't think there was much breed. I never saw turkeys breeding that early. Typically, I don't see them breeding until April.
Yeah, but really, I mean, honestly, for the amount of time that we spend around turkeys, I don't feel like we actually see them breed a lot.
No, not that often.
So
it was cool. All right, but let's get back to something that's going to help someone kill a turkey. Maybe this information is going to help kill a turkey.
I think that's because our season is pretty late. Genuinely, now.
Yeah, we don't open until what, April 15th?
This year it's like 13th or something, but I think that's part of it because if they are right now, when we did go to like Nebraska and places that were other places that were early, we were seeing all the fighting and the like they're trying to steal hens and everything. I mean, it's just kind of chaos. Which
the pecking order is still being worked out because there was. I mean,
we don't get to witness that
hundreds
here.
of turkeys, and you don't see that here.
Even first season, you end up with toms with big groups of hens already, or multiple toms with big groups of hens. They're already in some kind of
very split up a
they've
little
kind
bit.
of figured it out.
Yep.
So I think that's probably part of it too. I didn't even think about that.
Well, they go from
that's probably why Mark, which I think I'm ahead here, but why he said the thing about he likes the other season, like later season than he does.
Yeah, because now they're by themselves.
Yep.
They've already bred, and they're limited now. Now you go find a single tom out there.
Which one was he saying?
He said first and fourth.
First and fourth.
Have your first
First
crack
is
at them.
definitely. I think we've absolutely decided first unanimously is the best
For Iowa.
And I think that's a lot of that is because it's untouched.
Yeah,
and that's what
education.
I mean.
Yeah, because they get educated so fast.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing is we've been bow hunting them, and so therefore we're relying on decoys in our setups. But if you're not doing that, I don't know that first season would be the best. I can just go back and tell you that the second week in Montana, far better than the first week.
Yeah.
And the reason I believe was most of the places that I turkey hunted, the turkeys hadn't gotten there even yet because it was still colder. Because theirs starts about the same time as Iowa, if not exactly the same time. And there was just the farm where Pop killed his only turkey. Went there 1 week. I did it 2 or 3 times. I'd go there and no turkeys. I'm like, well, this sucks. And I'm talking Montana, like you could hear for miles and nothing. And then I'd come back a week later, freaking turkeys all over the ridge. They weren't there. I mean, they weren't just being quiet. I mean, it was a beautiful day when I was there and stuff like that. And they were not there. And then once they got there, then they stayed there.
Yeah, they got travel.
Yep.
So let's try to give people some tangibles.
Yep. So I think we start with scouting, like you just mentioned a minute ago. So I've wrote down some things and everything because I wanted to make sure that we covered this because we just did this in a social media piece about good hunter, bad hunter. How are you scouting? What are you looking? If I'm going to a piece of property I've never hunted before, I'm boots on the ground. I want to walk that piece of property, and I'm looking for droppings. I'm looking for feathers. I'm looking for scratches. If you don't know the difference between a turkey scratch and a scrape, you need to understand that. You need to, that they're going to scratch in the leaves, and there'll be several of them. And they're small. They're probably 12 inches, 14 inches, but you can tell that turkeys have been there. And then a lot of people probably don't know that you can tell the difference, where I'll argue with someone on a white-tailed deer. If you look at a turd and you can tell me it's a buck or a doe, maybe little tiny ones, but I've seen some does that had some pretty big turds. So, but when it comes to turkeys, you can tell they poop different. A hen poops like a Hershey's Kiss or like a little swirl, and a Tom or a Jake will crap in a J. He comes out and hooks.
That's so weird.
That is so weird. Like their buttholes are just shaped different, or what?
I have no idea, but
They push harder.
It's like a different.
The girls are
flavored
like,
ice
I'm
cream
just going to let it
dispenser.
out. And then the guys are like, here. And it goes, boop.
What? Okay, so I think I got an interesting question then on that. Which I think you should describe scratch, like what scratching looks like a little bit more.
So basically what turkeys do, if you ever can see them, watch them do it, they'll scratch the ground, they'll move the leaves, move the grass, and then they back up and then peck in it. And they're looking for bugs, whatever it is that they're eating on. It could be corn, whatever, or acorns or whatever that they're feeding on. But that's that's how you can, if you listen in the leaves, you can tell the difference between a turkey and a squirrel and a deer. It's it's almost like left foot, right foot. They do this, then they back up, and then you don't hear anything for a few seconds because they're feeding. They're actually pecking away. Then they do it again. Well, what ends up happening is what you'll find is, and I find it commonly like in an oak flat or an oak ridge where there's lots of leaves, the scratches are everywhere. Like all the leaves are piled up in little bundles all over the place, and you'll see 15, 20 of them or more.
And to make it simple too, it looks like a scrape.
It does just a
kinda
mini
look like
scrape.
If there's only like a couple of them there, but then if you look around and there's 10 or 15, it's like, ooh.
Turkeys, not
Yeah.
deer.
Well, it
Turkeys
also
are bigger.
usually is not going to be like right under a limb,
No.
like what you see
Random.
with deer. Yeah, I mean, or right off of a trail or something like that. They're going to be just in an area. Okay, so my next question, which this probably depends completely on region and species of turkey, but what kind of terrain and habitat are you looking for? Because, like for instance, East and I walked a place the other day looking for sheds, and I've hunted a decent bit more than he has, and he was asking me if I see turkeys there, and you would think that you would, and I've never seen a tom on the place. I even went there opening day once and thinking for sure I'd hear a bird on it somewhere, and never heard a bird. So I basically ended up giving up on that place for turkeys. And you would think that it would have turkeys, but it is like unbelievably overgrown with like molliflower rose and stuff like that. And so I got to talking, and I almost wonder if some of it is
Too thick.
yeah, like that they don't like it because they can't move around in it, or it's not the right food or what. So, because otherwise you look at it and you're like, this should definitely have turkeys. So is there certain things that you're looking for in the habitat that tells you that it's ideal for turkeys? And then that probably changes from East Coast to Midwest to West, because I know some of the stuff out West for Miriam's, it could be
Trees. You just
yeah,
look
if
for
there's
trees.
a friggin' tree around at all.
I mean, those birds are living in the prairie.
Yeah.
And they got to have a place to roost. And we killed some turkeys in places where if it wasn't dumb luck that we saw a turkey, Jim Brennan, that time we pulled into a farm. It was a block management place, meaning it's public. It's private, but it was treated like public. And so we pulled up and we were like, it says it has turkeys on it. And I'm like, there's freaking no way. We haven't passed a tree now for 15 miles. And we get this little house, and the house is there, and there's a few cottonwood trees around the house, and we pull up on the ridge, and I'm looking all around glass, and we don't see anything. And I was like, we've wasted our time. Let's get out of here. And we just started to turn around, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a turkey in their yard. And then I was like, okay, is it a domestic turkey, and then here comes another one coming. And then I look across the coulee, and there's a couple more. 7 toms walked up there. And so I was like, no, I don't think so. And sure enough, the hens were up out, and so we came back, and next day we killed 2 turkeys. My point is, in the West, I'm looking for timber. And then when you get into things like the Badlands, if you've ever been out west, those rolling hills are very good turkey areas. The Missouri Breaks, though, was one that looked identical to that, kind of like speaking to what you were just talking about. If you had the two, they looked almost identical, and there was no turkeys in the Missouri Breaks when I first moved to Montana. Now there's lots of turkeys.
Agriculture, too.
Agriculture is another one that you want. And I would go back to the East Coast, and I would say, man, if you can find...
Let's go East Coast first.
Okay,
so East Coast, hunting Easterns, what is it that you're looking for that makes good turkey habitat?
Oak trees. No, number one,
Mature, trees.
big oak trees, big draws, mixed with some farm ground would be helpful, but it's not necessary. Parts of the East Coast don't have any, and the birds live just fine back there. But big open timber, I mean, they like, it's not real heavy dense on the ground. It's more clear. The trees are mature, so therefore there's more sunlight getting through, and those trees have matured, and those birds just thrive back there. So, but you still got to have water. They don't need a lot, so it doesn't take much if there's creeks around or whatever and things like that. So, but then it becomes, and what's crazy is like the national forest. I can remember walking miles and no turkeys, and then you'd find them in these 3 or 4 hollows, and it was like, okay, and why though? And they all looked the same, but these were the ones where they were at. And I can't answer the specifics. So it comes down to scouting and to getting out there. And back then, it was walking. You didn't even have 4-wheeler trails or electric bike trails, or even, you just had to walk, which was okay, and especially in walking first thing in the morning or late in the evening when you're trying to see if you can hear them gobble.
So oaks?
Big oak trees.
Is there any kind of agriculture or anything that they
edges of cornfield. There's definitely more turkeys probably along the agricultural areas than there is in the mountains. But the mountains hold a lot of turkeys too.
And in the eastern side of the country, do they flock up in the winter like the Midwest or the West?
They do,
and
but
then break up?
Not to the extent. They don't have that number of turkeys. What you're talking about is not a flock anymore. It's a mob. When multiple flocks come together, that makes a mob. When you have 200-300 turkeys, typically you don't see that in your Virginias, Marylands, Connecticut, up and down the East Coast, because they don't get the weather. As you farther you go north, like up New York, that area, yeah, I could see them having that then start to happen. Pennsylvania even. So
if you start finding birds in January, February, in a lot of those regions, those are probably residential birds.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we should explain real quick what we're talking about. Do you have any idea, so when we used to hunt Nebraska 10, 15 years ago, we would see flocks of 200-300 birds. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea how far those birds would travel?
I can just tell you what the guys told, the people that own the ground there, and then what we saw, because we went back a couple of years. I don't remember if you were on those trips when we went into the mountains. We didn't hunt the farm ground, and that was 10, 12, maybe even 15 miles.
And they were traveling that far to the...
Oh, yeah. That's not that far for a turkey. A turkey's not like an elk. They're not going to do it in a day,
No. But so for everybody that's listening that may be from the East Coast or anything, birds in the West, the winters are rough enough that they can't stay in one spot usually, meaning just wherever. So they will gravitate to one area and they will all flock up and they'll winter there just like a herd of elk. So you might have 200-300 birds, and then what happens is as the season progresses and the warmth and it continues to warm up, those birds will spread out, which is where you hear Dad talking about that he had a spot that he'd go to and he would listen for miles and wouldn't hear a bird. And that's because those turkeys had not got there yet. But they will be in those big flocks, and then they'll start to break out. And so if you're someone like Dad who sometimes panics in February because he doesn't have pictures of turkeys on a spot, you don't need to panic a lot of times because they're wintered somewhere else, and they're going to be there. You just got to wait till the weather allows them to start doing that. So East Coast, we're looking for oaks, agriculture. Birds aren't going to majorly flock up. Okay? Midwest, or do we want to go down south? I don't know that any of us know enough about down south.
Well, I lived in
you
Arkansas.
See anything down south, hardly.
Arkansas. Yeah, everything you've told me makes me never ever want to go try to hunt there.
Well, the birds are never going to move in Florida. and I would think Mississippi, that area, there's not, the winter's not even a contention hardly. They're just going to do their thing. As you progress up, like into the Arkansas area, you kind of run into the same thing that you would run into in the East Coast, very similar, because you get into some there are mountains there, but they're smaller. But at the same time, you'd run into the same thing. Heavy pockets of turkeys in the mountains, quite a few turkeys along the agricultural belts. And that to me was like the mecca. If if you have that perfect storm, you have hillsides that are big oak flats that the turkeys can get out there, but yet they can drop down in a half a mile and be in the cornfield or in a bean field or whatever. Though that's just, there's lots of food, there's lots of cover, everything the turkey needs is there, and then pressure becomes another one that, now what I don't see very often is you don't see like an urban turkey thing like you do deer. You'll see some turkeys that will come in and live around town, and they got no problem doing that. Most of the time, you're not able to hunt them in those places. It just doesn't seem like it's not a common theme to hunt turkeys around.
They don't cause any problems.
Not at that level. Now, out west, when Warren was talking about them flocking up like that and having to spend the winter, the farmers hate them.
Yeah, I'm saying
out there, it's a rancher.
The reason you have urban hunts for whitetails,
yeah,
is they cause
absolutely,
problems.
Insurance and stuff like that. So, yeah. So anyhow, the down south, I think, falls into the eastern category as well. Now, the other thing though that I would tell you that down south, and even in like the East Coast, I love finding turkey ground that was kind of swampy. And those birds love to roost over the water. I have no idea why. My theory is bugs. I think they can sit right on the limb, and there's bugs flying by, and they snatch them right there. They don't have to do anything. But I can't tell you how many times I had one place called Rockwoods that I hunted, and those birds they would roost over the little 2-3 inches of water that would be laying in the ground. And then they would pitch down. They wouldn't land in the water. They would land off. But so it was kind of easy to set up too, because you knew where they were going to be.
I think maybe they felt more secure.
Maybe could be they knew predators were coming or couldn't come from that direction. Through the water.
It would be harder for them to get to them.
Possibly.
Okay.
So, anyhow, so then I guess, and then as we progress out west, like I said, out there you're looking for trees.
Don't skip us, because that's what I'm asking about. Is like we walked that farm and there wasn't any. I've never seen turkeys there. Do you have a theory on that?
I think definitely you've found something that's too thick. Might be a good nesting area for the occasional hen. She'd go there and have her brood of chicks, but she's going to move them. And I think you got to have something that's open, where they can get out and be able to scratch and be able to feed and that kind of thing. As much as they like cover, like I've had them suckers walking through CRP and stuff like that, they also like to get out where it's not just crammed full of vegetation.
I think they love kind of open timber too.
That's what I'm saying, like big mature timber.
Yeah, without lots of thorns and stuff, where they can get around, strut, peck, do whatever. Because I'm trying to think of most of our best places. I feel like all of it has some of that.
There's nothing like what we walked. We don't hunt anything relative to it.
That's what I'm saying.
I think they can't see and they can't feel comfortable. They can't get away from anything. They can't. I mean, everything's the whole thing. If I was a turkey, I would be terrified walking through there.
I would say this: the two places that I can think of that we have the nicest looking timber that I would say this looks like turkeys is next to the pond where you had the issue with the guy fishing in November.
Yep.
Okay, that timber that I would look across the fence all the time when we were fishing on that side and look over there and was like, holy crap, that looks awesome. And it's 25 acres of timber, and they're always in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I would be looking for. To describe that to someone is it's got a mixture. It's mature timber, nice hillside. That's a north-facing hillside. It's got some south-facing stuff, but good. I think you got lots of good. Most of that is hickory. You got a lot of different nuts there. Hickory, walnut, but there's definitely some oaks, some of those big oaks that are there. Red oaks are good. White oaks are still king for all these animals. For whitetails and turkeys, they just love down south, pin oaks are a huge one. because
turkeys aren't really eating the acorns and stuff, though.
not the whole acorn,
Yeah.
but they'll eat all the pieces and stuff like that around there.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're always. I mean, they're omnivore because people don't realize. I mean, they don't eat meat, but they eat bugs. They eat live stuff. Because that's kind of my theory on why you see them on rainy days out in fields and why you don't see them, and then on sunny days they're in the timber. Rainy days, I've had people say, well, they don't like they don't like getting their feathers wet from the trees. Well, they're getting wet when they're out in the field.
Who said that?
I've had like 10 different things. I don't know, but I think it could be that it washes up the bugs. They can see them really, they can find them really easily. But it's more prevalent back east than I've noticed in the Midwest. But on a rainy day, you could drive around in the fields of Virginia, Maryland, and see hundreds of turkeys. You'd see 10, 15 in this field, that field. You go drive around on a sunny day, you won't see any. And I felt like they were all in the timber. You do that here, and it's a little better, but it's not as prevalent as what it is back east.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then rainy days out west tend to get cold, and then the birds just go right back to a flock.
Yep. Okay. So should we move to something else, or do we think that?
Yeah. The only thing I would add, so like I mentioned, looking for feathers, looking for droppings, scratches, and stuff like that. I'm also looking for good roost trees. And if you can find piles of turkey crap in a location, that tells you found a really good roost tree. When like multiple droppings that, okay, he's definitely someone's been sitting on this limb. And then the last one, though, because this one to me is the number one, it's a killer. It'll kill your hunt. You can do everything right, get it all right. And then if you don't look for this, it will screw up your entire hunt, and that is barriers. And what I mean by that is fences, creeks, rivers, anything that a turkey coming to you strutting has to stop strutting and fly over or go way around. You want to make sure I'm not saying you can do anything about identifying those, but what you can do, but what you can do is make sure that you have a way for them to get around you, get around to you, or where you set up is so that that's not a barrier.
That doesn't mean go cut a hole in the neighbor's fence.
No, but it may mean go wire that fence up. I mean, like lift the bottom strand up so he can get underneath it.
Maybe we're just not that good at callers, because Mark was saying that he's had multiple pitch rivers and stuff.
Yeah,
Don't you remember him saying that?
He says he's seen both. He has had them where a lot of them don't do anything, but then he's had some where they freaking go boom, 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 back.
I would love to know what he's doing, because I feel like if we went back and counted our amount of encounters that they came to a fence, a river crossing, or something of that sort, barbed wire not an issue. A sheep fence or something.
Sheep fence is the
it's
worst.
Like 90%.
Stop.
They're not coming. Yeah.
Well, we have the best one is the one when we first moved here, and you and I, and that turkey is running up and down the fence.
Yes.
And he is dragging his beard. He can see the decoys, and he still ain't crossing and he is wanting to them bad. And by the time he went all the way around, if you remember, he finally popped out in our field. You would have thought there was two different turkeys.
Yeah.
Because he had totally lost interest, wasn't strutting, just walked right by us.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I know he would have differently is he doesn't have a whole freaking blind and decoy set up. He might, I guess it depends. I think he does use some decoys and stuff, but like he's probably sitting there where I do believe most of the time a turkey doesn't care about a blind, obviously, but I do think that when we press up on them, like when they only have one little spot to get through a fence or something, and in order for them to get through that fence, they've got 5 or 6 yards before they better be ready to freaking
go at it,
tussle, and they're gonna with the decoys, and then this big box thing, like it's all this pressure that I don't think that's ever a very good outcome you're gonna have. Versus, I think that if you could, even if you had that and you're 15, 20 yards away with a blind, maybe, but something where it's not as big of a they don't have any room to move around or get into the decoys or something, I think it's still going to be a pain in the butt, but I think you'd have better success. Yeah, you saw it with the bird that you killed like 2 years ago or whatever that came through the fence, that I think that we all thought that if you could just back up a little bit to where they can see the decoys and stuff, but if you could back up to where they have some room to come into the area, you're going to see them come through a lot easier, as opposed to you guys were hoping there was, 10 toms or something. You're hoping and praying one would commit to come through, and he did. But
Yeah, which
by the way, that's going to be on fire again.
is there birds there again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's funny because I
There you
thought
go.
you said there wasn't a month ago.
he says
Well,
that about every
I
place.
know.
Negative Nelly.
I'm telling you, that was freaking good. I was like, there's a whole bunch.
No, but we just hear that for however long, and we'll still continue to hear
have you
it
not
until
listened-
one shows up somewhere
have you
else.
not
Like
listened to-
yesterday
I've
was,
already
my
said-
house, there isn't a turkey there anywhere nearby. There are
I've
no
already told
turkeys
you,
here, man.
this turkey season is already looking way better than last year.
He
Way
still
better.
finds the negative, man.
Well, I'll tell you that's bad. And because there's not birds at my house. They weren't gobbling this morning either. And I got birds gobbling all around, but not there.
Well, didn't we just talk about flocks?
Yeah, I know. They could not be there yet.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he'll tell you his neighbors said that there's a flock of 50 or 60 toms.
No, 39.
No.
One was 39, one was 50.
That's
Yeah.
insane, though.
Yeah. And so I should get some of them.
Okay, so let's just take that scenario though, because I do think that's one that a lot of people don't think about. What are major barriers? Because I would tell people when we say a fence, we're not talking about a barbed wire fence.
It depends on the barbed
I
wire
am
fence.
talking about a barbed wire
if it's
fence if it's a really good one.
Yeah, if it's our neighbor barbed wire fence, it's a problem. It's 6 strands and they're every 6 inches, so it's like a fortress.
Yeah, and it's tight.
Yeah.
Other ones, though, if there's
But
gaps and
the
stuff. It's
the
not.
average barbed wire fence a turkey can get through.
Okay, so
But
really good barbed wire fences with, and I would even tell you, it could be a good barbed wire fence as long as it doesn't have multiple strands that they can't get through.
Yeah.
You're okay. The sheep fences are
sheep fence is the worst.
one of the absolute worst things you could have. Rivers.
Can be a major barrier. But see, I think the sheep fence is number 1 on the list. I don't know why, but that seems like it's just so abrupt.
I think it's a natural
Maybe.
or not unnatural that it seems like. I feel like you have a better chance of calling one across a river than you do.
I
getting one
do.
come
I would
across a
agree
sheep
with
fence.
that. But and then steep canyon, like a steep. It doesn't have to be a river in it. It doesn't have to be water in it, but a major steep cutout that they have to fly across to get across it.
Okay.
They just seem to like. I mean, you're just trying to make it easy on this turkey.
So is there anything that we're missing there?
Well,
Or-
anything that it's very easy, I think. Anything that bird can't simply walk to you. So if they have to fly, they got to try to jump over something. They got to go way around something. Anything like that is typically, because I've watched you do it with big ditches in a freaking wide open field. It's not that big, but doesn't want to come across it.
Yeah.
It was big enough that he wasn't going to go walking down it. He would have to pitch over it.
What we have to remember, we're trying to get that turkey already to do something that he doesn't normally do, right? We're calling to him as a hen, and he normally gobbles, and she says, "Oh, okay," and she's the one that has to go across all that stuff or go over the fence and all that. We're trying to tell him, "No, come over here." So I feel like they just get there and then they get lazy. They're like, "Okay, this is as far as I started coming to you, and I was going to, but there's this in the way. So you come over here." And that's what he's saying. You come over here. You come over here. I think a lot of times, and then what we do, we call more, and then that just kind of like ticks him off, and to the point where I think maybe if we were to shut up sometimes and just stop calling, he'd be like, "Now wait a minute, my is leaving. She's done take off, so I got to go find her." And then he flies across.
So is there a scenario where you have a gobbling bird that there's a barrier where you would just leave him, or are you still going to try? So let's say that you're on a property and you have a bird that's gobbling across the fence, and the fence is a sheep fence, and he's answering though, and every time you throw out a call, he gobbles. Are you going to keep working that bird, or are you saying that this is a waste of time?
I'm probably going to keep working him if I.
All of us are going to send it.
Yeah, but
Every single one of us, because we're all going to be sitting there thinking, we're going to walk away from a gobbling turkey. Yeah, right.
No,
I've
but
got a shot. So I'm going to give her.
but I've moved.
Yeah, you might adjust, but you're still going to
No,
give
but
her
I mean,
a shot.
like I picked up and he's still gobbling, and I completely walked to where I thought the fence ended, and set up there. And I was like, where I was directly in line with where he was, I was within 150 yards of the turkey. I walked to 350 yards away and said, okay, now I'm going to try this here. And Brandon Jaroszewski, another firefighter, we killed that turkey, but I screwed up because I was about 50 yards. I didn't go far enough, and I didn't know that. And so the bird came.
Went
and
past
he came,
you.
Well, he got all the way to the fence again, and I'm like, I thought this wasn't a sheep fence here. I'm looking through my binoculars and everything, and he is just going back and forth. And then I shut up, and luckily he went the other 50 yards up and around the fence and came to us, and he killed it. But I thought that I had, so my point is, I did quit. I did say, we're not going to get him over here. And my intention was to get past where the fence stopped. And we still screwed up, but we were close enough. There's no way he would have walked that far up and then back to where we were. No way.
Yeah. So then if you were to set up on that bird, though, you're going to, let's say you were bow hunting him first, you're going to still give him how far from the fence?
If I can be 50 yards off the fence, I want some space there. I mean, enough for one to fly over, and then he's still got to come a little ways is quite okay.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to, like, push up against him because I think that definitely makes, I feel like that bird that we're talking about that was running his beard up and down the fence, if he had flown over, he was there, right? We were right on him. I don't know what reaction maybe that was part of what was holding him up.
Now, shotgun, no blind, maybe not even decoys, right on the fence, or are you still 50 yards?
I think I'm even better that way because now he's got to search for me. You know, because
So
as soon as
giving him breathing room.
as soon as I see him at the fence, I'm not making another call.
Okay.
He's got to find me because he's crossed that fence before. They will do it. It's not like they won't, but maybe he hasn't crossed it because he needed, like, something was pressing him to cross that fence, making it. Yeah, it was on whenever he felt like it.
Yep.
I think it's worth noting. I think any of them, I don't know how to put it exactly, but putting pressure on them, I've only seen one time or one type of hunting that you can put pressure on a turkey hard and get a good response. More times than not, when you're trying to force them to do something, whether it's the one I think of is at one of your properties, you have a food plot where it necks down, and we have the blind right there where you'll put it there so you can get used to it. And these turkeys, it's only 15 yards wide, and they'll come through it. But if you go throw a decoy in there or something, when we had them coming through, like, they skirted it. Like, they did not, and I don't think that was because they were educated. I don't think it was because they were screwed with. I think it was because they only had 10 yards in this little alleyway, and they wanted to go through it because they would go through it every day, but they didn't want to deal with having to walk next to that decoy, even if they thought it was another bird. So I think that pressure, or making them do something, just like that, when they come through the fence, if you're too close to them, you're forcing them to have to come straight into what you're doing. And then the only other time, like I was saying, that it works is reaping, and you can read them pretty easily that you are trying to force them to do something. But a lot of times you have that where you're in the wide open or something, and they have a choice still. Just, I'm going to come at you. But confined spaces, the other one where north, where it's a pain in the butt to hunt them sometimes, dad kills them. But it's a nightmare, is overgrown, thick in the timber. It's tough, so that when they do show up, they only have 15, 20 yards of a warning that there's another bird or a tom there or whatever else, and then it gets hard to get them to come in. And I think that's because, again, we're forcing them to do what we want them to do, and they don't like to do that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Agree with that 100%.
Anything you can make them do free will, but coax them in, I think you're much better off.
Yeah, but like I said, getting out there now and knowing that those barriers exist, and so that you can adjust, so that if there's a creek or a big steep crossing in the morning and turkey's gobbling on the other side of it, try to get across there before you set up. And if the fence is on you, meaning you can hunt both sides of it, get on the other side of the fence.
So let's say you have you got to set up along a river or something, and birds are gobbling there, and you got one setup option in a field. Perfect setup. They can see the decoys forever. You really like it. You feel great about it, but there's a barrier. or the other one you have to deal with timber and you're not going to be able to see very far and it's less ideal, but there's no barrier. Which one did you tell somebody to take?
Less ideal.
Okay. And that one's going to be, that sounds like nothing on the podcast, but I'm telling you, when you get out in
real world,
you're going to fight yourself because you're going to be like, oh, this just looks so good.
Yeah.
And then opposed to going in the timber and possibly there's a hill in front of you where I can't see but 60 yards, it's still you're gonna have better odds there.
More lethal.
Yeah. Unless it's something like they roost across the river in the morning, and you already know that they're flying down into that field or something. That's
the only thing I was gonna say is if you've done your scouting and you know kind of where they're wanting to go, that one place is where you know they're gonna end up at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It may kind of suck, but that could also be beneficial.
One thing that I would tell people that I'm noticing, or maybe I've known it because I do it, but now I'm like pointedly making a point of that, and that is, if you're going to go scout for turkeys this time before the season starts, and you go at dark 30, meaning right at daylight, you're just going to listen for birds. Chances of you seeing the birds is not good, because they're not going very far. They're going to pitch down. It depends on your terrain too, I guess. If they're pitching down in the fields, you can drive by on the road or whatever and see them. But if it's typically, that won't be the case. They're going to pitch down out of those trees and you won't see them. Go in at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Now you're going to start, those birds will start to move away from where they pitch down. And so you can drive around. You may physically see the birds. You won't hear as many. So you kind of pick which scouting scenario you're going on, or if you got time to do the whole thing, do both, but that's something to remember, especially you go into a new area that you don't know and you're planning on hunting there. I feel like going on the right morning and listening, that tells me where more birds are than what I'm going to physically see.
Yeah.
So
I do like scouting in the evenings for visibility, because if you time it right and you can see where they're at, you're seeing where they're going very easily to know, especially like the night before. If you can see what field they were in or what area they came from, and then where they're going to, especially if there's only a few options, then I now know that they're over here, and earlier in the day they were in this field, which means they may not be there tomorrow morning, but I know where they roosted, so I know where they're going to be at then, and then I also know where they're probably going to want to be at later in the day, because they tend to be pretty habitual. I mean, they try to
same roughly.
Not going to do the exact same thing, but they're going to probably be in the same areas, and so I would be able to know, okay, if I'm patient, which is the hardest part. I think me and Warren are the worst about it, probably of the three of us by far.
And Alyssa.
Yeah, but
patience
would tell you
into getting her breakfast by 7:30.
So his game though would be your birds, what they're doing, and where they want to be. They may not be there right now. Wait for them to be there.
Yep. Just hold on. They're coming. All right. What's the next one? That's a little bit about scouting. Not a little bit. That's quite a bit about scouting. I had turkeys, calling, decoys, setting up, and extras. Which one do you want to hit? Because you probably don't have time to get to all these.
What were they?
Yeah. So turkeys, just stuff about turkeys, meaning they can see 280 to 300 degrees roughly from their eyes. The only place they can't see is directly behind them. They see color and movement very well, so don't be wearing white socks. Have your boots pulled up. Your pants leg pulled up and sticking above your boots. They hear really well. They don't have any sense of smell, so you don't have to worry about.
You're going into the topic.
I'm just doing it real fast.
I'm still trying to figure out the pants on the boots thing.
He's saying make sure you pull your pants all the way down, over your boots, because if you wear your white socks above your boots and your pants are ridden up like high waters, the turkey's going to see you.
It's a thing.
Yes,
it is a thing that used to happen.
How did you put all that together?
Because I know David, and he's talked about it before.
Did you guys get that? Nick, of course, is going to say he did.
I know they've heard me talk about it 100 times.
He does talk about it a lot.
I forget he wears those just normal shoes, too. You'd think.
Yeah, his little freaking dad.
Yeah, these shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the heck? Anyways.
Dude, your pants would have to be to your knees.
You could do, Nick wanted to say head colors, too, if you go into turkeys, but I think the head colors is
that needs to be
it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
I think.
Should we talk about calling?
Or decoys.
Or setups. And talk about the whole thing.
Or what you're going to use, a bow or a gun.
And then how that would change it or what?
Well, that would change what kind of decoys
For
or
sure.
if you're using decoys.
It doesn't change my calling, but it does change the decoy setup.
Okay.
Or the tactic, I guess.
I'm trying to think of which one would be next. So we went over, you'd go over scouting.
And the next thing is
kinda
planning
got
when you're
setups.
going and how you're going to do it.
As far as what?
Like,
there's
your
some
scout is going to tell you where there's a bird or where there's some kind of birds or something, or you're hoping that you find some. And then the next thing you're going to be sitting there trying to figure out is, okay, now I need to narrow it down to the day or two before, preferably the day before. I'm going to find them where they're roosted, and then what? Am I going in?
You know what's going on right now. Right now. There's some dude sitting in his truck or some guy on a mower or whatever, and he's listening to this podcast. And he's going, talk about setup, go to setup. Come on, do this. And there's another guy somewhere going, talk about calls. Come on, man. I want to hear about calls. And then some other dude is going, talk head color. Come on, tell me about it. So
There's definitely got to go in some kind of chronological order.
there's no chronological order. There's just freaking turkey.
That's my chronological order. Is I figure out where the birds are, and then I'm thinking about, like, for opening day, I have Hannah, so I know that I'm going to take a shotgun, and we're going to find where the birds are, and we're going to go sit our happy butts down next to a tree and wait for something to come strolling by, and she's going to blast him.
Yeah.
And
just like my white socks, she's going to have to cover her white hair.
yes, that is a difficult thing.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead. Let's go to that.
So setups.
It's your setup depending on what you're doing.
Opening day.
Well, I guess strategy is, I got it. Strategy for what you're doing in the beginning. Hear me out.
Okay.
Strategy, because if you are one person and you're just going to fill your own tag, that's one thing. But I think the vast majority of people that are going turkey hunting either are going with a friend, a buddy, or if you're somebody who just really likes it, you're probably taking multiple people at some point or another. Point is, you probably have multiple birds or multiple tags that are going to be on your shoulders or you're going to be a part of, which also means you need to have multiple places. And so strategy as to what places you hunt first versus what places you save and where you're going to be at opening day. I think that's actually an extremely smart one to do, because you may not have tons of ground, but that's okay. If you have, say, 2 or 3 places where you do have birds, you need to pick the smart one to hunt first, and then you can go back to the next one, and then maybe a spare is coming from the original farm or something where you know that you're getting a fresh bird, or you know these ones are going to get ruined really quickly because other people have permission or it's public or something and everybody hunts it. I'm going to go to that one first, and then I'm going to go to the ones that I know are a little more controlled. So I think that's a very good.
Well, that also goes for the guy that does have a kid or whatever, but he's also going to try to kill a turkey himself. Don't take your kid on the 2.5 mile hike back in the Appalachian Trail to that turkey that you know that has been there for 2 or 3 years you've been trying to kill. You're going to wear your kid out and he's not going to enjoy it.
Yep.
You know, take him on the place where he has a good opportunity. Hopefully you're going to get one to come in. Maybe it's a 2-year-old that just runs in, a crackhead, comes running. Or the wife or the girlfriend or just any person that's brand new to it. Don't put them in the situation that you want. That chess match is way more fun when it's really difficult for you, but don't do that to them.
Yep. Okay, so strategy.
Strategy, yes. And I think that strategy one is, like I said, you got to pick. Well, we can all see it here in Iowa pretty easily. I think, like Alabama, the guys are nuts. I mean, they don't have the strategy. It's, I have a property, or I have 3 properties. I have 3 turkeys there. Go every day till all are dead. That's strategy.
Hey, by the way, they just changed their law from 5 birds to 3.
That's good. That's a start.
They used to be until
you could kill 5.
They could kill 5 turkeys
a piece.
Yes, and they just dropped it to 3. And they're still, apparently, according to the gentleman I was talking to, said they are freaky.
Crap. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, my Lord.
We got to pause, everybody. I was trying to clean. Hey, go again.
You're in the right place. Even while it's going?
Oh, no, you're right. Okay, now we're back. Sorry, I got distracted dusting.
So, anyhow.
Do they do any kind of census or anything to
Oh, they know they know they have less turkeys than they used to have.
I'm saying, do they know that they have enough to be able to support
3?
guys killing 5 or 3?
I don't know. I assume that the state is watching it, but anyhow, they just
Kyle and them could kill 5.
I think it's 4.
It might
God.
it may be
Each.
according to region,
Yeah.
according to areas, but there's places that could kill 5 and they dropped to 3.
That's insane.
So,
Okay.
anyways, their strategy is kill all birds. And I don't think that's because they all hate the birds. I think it's because they're all so obsessed with turkey hunting. They absolutely love it. But here, you have a lot of turkey hunters, meaning Iowa. I think you probably deal with it. The East Coast as well.
Oh yeah.
You have a lot of turkey hunters. There's limited public ground. This is probably a relatively easier one compared to like trying to get permission for deer, but knocking on doors, maybe get some turkey permission, to where you're going to have some competition. And I think your competition also affects, number one, how many birds are really there, if there's only a couple, but 2 is how well they respond. And birds get educated fairly quickly sometimes, especially depending on who's hunting them. So picking the places that I have permission here and 3 other dudes do, or I have a public piece that I know is going to get hammered. And for instance, Iowa is wonderful because, I guess it depends on who you are, but opening day is a Monday. And then that first season is only a couple days and is during the week. So most people probably aren't going to be able to go during the week. So those are things I take into consideration, especially when I have multiple people I'm going to be trying to fill a tag for, so that you can, by the time you get to 4th season or something, or 3rd season, and you either still haven't killed a bird or you're trying to help somebody else, you now have a place that, okay, I've saved it, or it hasn't been hunted since day 1. And so I think these birds have had a break, or maybe new birds have moved in. And so I think that helps your season carry along a heck of a lot better. We've seen it where we haven't really done a strategy before, and we may kill a couple birds on like the first couple days, and then all of our second tags were all just like everybody's just kind of going where we think we can find a bird to do something with again, versus when we're all like, hey, let's go here, here, and here to start with, then we're opening up to the other places.
So you have a slam dunk spot. Do
Yes.
you use it right away, or do you hold it?
If it's it depends on if other people can hunt it or not. That's my determining
Okay, so let's
factor.
say that you have your own where nobody else can hunt it, slam dunk spot, and then you have another spot that other people could hunt, and it's a decent chance.
I'm going to the decent chance
First.
opening day.
You don't think that you're not worried about anything changing on the slam dunk spot?
No, because I think if I can't get something done on the decent shot, that option is just out. It's not going to be completely out, but it's going to be tougher every single day. It's going to be harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
Versus the slam dunk spot, I know that even if it gets a little harder the next day, it's still going to be easier than what I probably would have just started with or I'm going to deal with.
Yep. And so then when you're pre-strategizing, are you also finding a different evening spot and midday spot, or is it whatever you find for the morning that's the spot that I'm going to spend my time?
Depends on where. Like if I go to the spot that I'm trying to go to in the morning and they're off, or I really got into them and we screwed up and then didn't get them in or something, I try to go somewhere else or bounce around and go some other way. But if I know they're going to be coming back and we didn't really screw them too much, I'm probably going to be back in the same spot or in that area where I think that they're going to come back through.
So ideal world, you need 2 to 3 spots ready to go right away.
Yeah.
Depends on how many people you have and that kind of thing. I mean, but yeah, I mean, turkeys are kind of like elk. You can wear a spot out. I mean, you might not wear it out. Even a neighbor hunting, as far as getting them to come to a decoy and that kind of thing. If you're a good caller and you are pretty savvy, can you go in and kill a turkey that maybe he can't? Possibly, but getting them to come in to shoot one with your bow, if they're doing, because that's what you see here. You see here, and I say here, Iowa, but I'm just Midwest in general. The bow hunting guys, it's a blind and typically 2 decoys out, and I think the turkeys do get used to it, and they're like, whoop, there's one of those boxes with a couple turkeys there.
Yep.
What
was I going to ask? I had a question. Oh, this is a question I had real quick. So let's say that you bust turkeys. Maybe not in the morning, but you bust turkeys going in the afternoon or something. No setup, didn't call or anything. Did you screw the spot up, or are you good?
Set up right there. Don't move. That's a fall tactic. I know we've never done it. You guys have never done any fall turkey hunting. I only did a little bit when I lived in Virginia, but I guys had dogs that would bust a flock. That's what the dog did. Then the dog comes over, lays down, they cover him up with a blanket, they start calling from right there, and they call the turkeys right back to that spot and kill them. They'll come right back.
How long are you waiting till you
That's
call?
in the fall,
About
though.
40 minutes. That's in the fall, but you can use it in the spring. Here's the ticket or the key. Did the whole flock fly off, though, in the same direction? And then they're probably still together. They may just group up down there. Or did you really bust them up? Like you came over a hill and spooked them and they kind of went everywhere. If they scattered like that, then I'm looking where they went and I'm trying to get right in the middle of them.
Okay, let's say they all stay together. They all flew.
I'm moving.
Yeah, I would try to get down closer to where they went, and I'd wait 45 minutes or so, and then I would, or even wait for them to call. This is something that I've heard on social media recently. Everybody seems to be talking about how they're getting a turkey to gobble in the like 9 o'clock in the midday. You're done. Everything kind of shut up, and now you're running and gunning, if that's what you want to call it. You just got up and moved. How do you get a turkey to gobble? And I've heard guys saying, "Well, I'm using this real soft hen call and and typically they're not going to come running right away. You got a little bit of time to set up, and that's probably true." But then I heard a guy yesterday, and I leaned toward what he said, and that is I'm going to use a locator call because I don't want the turkey to be coming. I want him to gobble, but now I know where he is. Now I got time to set up. Then I can make a call, or I can adjust and make a call. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, that's not either one of what I do anymore. I'm silent. I go and I stand there, and I can't tell you how many turkeys I hear gobble when I don't do a thing. And I'm not saying that it isn't a real crow or a real owl hoots or a helicopter flies by or a plane or the freaking...
Or they just gobble on their own.
Or they just gobble on their own. And I think so many people are missing that opportunity that you just stand there.
But you'll also sit there for 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Waiting, where I think a lot of guys are...
The reason they're calling is they want to get the answer now.
Yes. But my point is when you do that, it's so natural. Nothing. It's them doing what they want to do. Now, what you can't do, or I can't be eating anything because I can't hear. I can't be sitting there chomping on something. You're not sitting there scrolling on your phone. You're not sitting there texting someone or whatever because I'm not paying. I could be sitting, standing, but I'm not moving, and I'm just listening for a faint, distant gobbler, and he might be 150 yards away. And then as soon as he does that, I get the same opportunity that the guy that did that really soft call or the guy that blew his owl call.
Well, to be honest, too, I can't tell you how many times that we've done that where we sat there and just listened and heard a bird gobble, and then we hit a call.
Doesn't gobble.
They don't answer.
Yep.
Or they don't gobble, and honestly, it seems like sometimes it shuts them up. And then they wait. You have to wait an hour, and then they'll gobble again on their own, and we've called at them again, and they shut up. And then where it seems like sometimes you just shut up, and then they keep going. So I do think that's a pretty important thing. But it's freaking hard.
It is.
And I get it too for the guys that are, especially if you got enough, especially out west or somewhere where you got enough ground that you can just kind of run and gun. It's like, hey, I'm looking for a fun one. Not one of these I got to work. I want a crackhead.
That's fair.
Agreed. All right. What's next?
No, you're about at your hour.
Do you want to talk decoys quick or no? Or do we want to give, like you were, I don't think we covered setups as much as you covered strategy.
Yeah.
And strategy was picking, but what about the guy who only has one spot?
Be real careful. Depends on how many birds there are too, but that I would be doing the least amount of intrusion as possible. I don't want to call much. I mean, unless you are very confident, and especially if you only have one tag or something, or it's just you. If you're really confident in the fact that I can go sit against a tree, and I know if I put this decoy setup out or whatever, I'm good with it. I mean, it depends on your confidence with it. If you're not that confident, and they were me, and I do have only one spot, I'm going to sit there days before. I'm going to be trying to figure out exactly what all these birds are doing. I'm going to go plop my butt down, and I am going to just do as least amount as possible. and make it happen. Because if you start forcing it and you do only have the one spot, likely, and you screw it up, you don't really have room to screw up. You got to get it to work the first time. So
Yeah,
be treading much lighter.
If I only had one spot, I am definitely working the year to make sure I take vacation that first day.
Mm-hmm.
I want that. Now, the only thing that would change that is possibly the weather. And I'm thinking back, I think it was 3-4 years ago, Eli was still, me and him went to, that morning, I was like, this is not going to be good. I mean, it was like 20, 23, 24 degrees, and it was like 20-mile-an-hour winds, and we didn't hear a single turkey, and we didn't see anything. And we went to a couple different farms until finally 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening, we saw birds on this farm. And that told us where to come the next day. Had I been a smart turkey hunter, I would have said, just wait till the next day, because the weather was so bad. However, had we not been out there and found that, the next morning we came back and it was maybe the most gobbling turkeys I've ever heard in Iowa.
You killed one on that day, though.
No, that second day, not the first day.
Oh, I thought you guys did when it was super crappy.
No, and next morning was beautiful.
I thought I did too in the rain.
I'm pretty sure they did, but
I thought I shot two.
Okay, yeah, the day we killed two. That's not what I'm talking about.
When it was like 20 something like that.
No, it wasn't
windy.
that cold. It was kind of windy rain. I mean, a little bit of rain, very little, but it wasn't real windy because those birds were across.
I remember the one was like super nasty, and that was
None of us went.
Well, Dakin and I did, and then we went and ate breakfast because it was like
I think that's
were freezing and it was super cold, and we felt bad for Eli because we knew Dad wasn't gonna fold, and he gets cold easy.
Oh yeah,
and you guys went to like 2 or 3 farms that day.
That's the year I'm talking, and I killed that bird on the second day.
Oh, I thought you killed him on that day.
No, because we didn't even end up at that farm until like 2 or 3 o'clock. And then we did that. We just sat on the hill. Remember, that hill faced the whole river bottom.
Yeah.
And the sun broke finally and came out and everything. He's like, "What are we going to do?" I said, "We're just going to sit here." And he's like, "You don't want to go set up or something?" And because he was hoping for the blind to get out of the wind, because we were right in the middle of the wind. And I was like, "Sorry."
Guy. And it was like 20 degrees.
Yeah, I was like, "Sorry, but I just feel like I need to learn. I need to see." And sure enough, we saw him walk in the river. Next morning, we set up. We went down in there and set up right there. And to this day, I would. If Eli was here, I think he would tell you we heard 30 to 40 turkeys gobbling that morning. It was crazy. And then we could end up seeing 6 to 8 across and again, we had a barrier, we had a river there, but we couldn't do anything about it because that was not our property. And so anyhow, we sat there, and it wasn't until 11:30. This bird walked up, never made a sound, walked up right behind. I just happened to look over and he was 8 yards away. And I was like, "Oh, we got a strutter right here." And we shot him. So, all right. Well, we scratched it. Well, all we did was piss these guys off. Now they're ready. They're like wanting to go kill a turkey, and we just like poked at them like a poker.
That's good, because if they're in Iowa and they're that excited about doing it, you do have about 2-3 days to be able to get your tickets to Spring Thunder. So go on the website and get yourself Spring Thunder tickets. We're going to talk about this type of stuff and a heck of a lot more in depth. And there are some hunts to be given away, as well as a lot of other things. The other thing that we do have on our website now that everybody asks us for so much every year is the Raised Hunting Blind Pack. Yes, the universal blind pack. Doesn't matter what blind you have, any pop-up hub-style blinds, and you want to do what we're talking about, where we're running and gunning all the time or moving and doing everything else, but you want to have your blind, especially if you're bow hunting or you have kids. The pack will literally make your life 10 times easier. No more having to freaking shove stuff in a bag that doesn't fit. So you can go check that out too. We're going to try to keep them in stock as long as possible.
Well, there's packs on the market, but I promise you this one is not like this one, because this one, everything is designed to fit everything. And I think we covered it extremely well, or at least it's worked for us. And I don't know many people carrying as much crap as we carry.
Oh, well, we carry a lot.
So, well, I mean, anytime you're bow hunting turkeys, you do have to carry a lot.
Yeah.
Because you need blind decoys at
chairs.
A minimum. And then, you don't necessarily have to have chairs, but most guys want chairs. So you're talking blind decoys, chairs, no matter what. And immediately, and then if you have a pack on top of that, that's a lot of stuff.
And your bow.
So, and your bow. So you need a pack that can carry that stuff is designed specifically for it. So,
yeah.
Okay. You ready?
Ready.
Wacky fact in us.
The hooded pitoyi of Papua, New Guinea, is poisonous. This is a bird. Its skin and feathers contain a potent neurotoxin likely derived from its diet, making it literally dangerous to touch.
Interesting. What does this bird do? Just hangs out and be poisonous?
I guess.
Waits for another bird to eat him, and then they both die.
I would have never guessed that there was a bird that you couldn't touch because it was.
Well, I know there's frogs
Poisonous.
like that.
Yeah, they're venomous, I think, aren't they?
No, there's frogs.
Poisonous.
There's frogs that you touch it. Yeah, poison.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Of course, he would know the name of it. I knew there was a frog, but Nick knows the name.
Here's another one that our entire audience will just
The
love.
dart frog.
I'll give you the green on that because I'd never heard of it. Never knew about it. There. I need to get these on here again. I keep saying that.
Poop decorators. Burrowing owls decorate the entrance to their nests with cow or bison manure to attract dung beetles, which they then eat.
Holy crap. This is for our entire audience.
I knew that was a green button.
There's definitely a lot of turd facts out there.
All right. Well, that wraps it up.
That it?
That's
All right.
it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again for joining us. I hope we did not bore you on our turkey facts. I hope you're getting ready for turkey season. Remember, go to the website, grab your blind backpack or anything else. Mainly grab a ticket to Spring Thunder. We're hoping we're going to see you there. We are giving away a bunch of stuff, including 2 hunts to Kansas and Nebraska, and a thermal hunt here in Iowa. So if you've been looking for something, we got it for you. Peace out. This is Ray's Hunting signing off.